Boys and girls, now it's time for our missionary story. How many people can tell me who the missionary story was about last week? Wait a minute. That's right, Mary Slessor. And remember, she wanted to go to Africa. And some people didn't want her to go. But her mom was really excited for her to go. And so I don't know if she went or not. And Miss Lauren stopped the whole missionary story right when we were getting ready to find out if she was going to go. So I want you to sit up really straight. Pay attention. Take it away, Missy.
All right. I want you to think of the most exciting day of your life. I was thinking about this last night, and I've had lots of exciting days. I thought about the day that my little sister was born. That was an exciting day. I was so excited, and I bought her this little stuffed animal, and I was just so excited to meet my little sister. That was an exciting day. So maybe you're a big brother or you're a big sister, and you remember the day that your little sibling was born. That was a pretty exciting day. Or maybe your birthday. Raise your hand if you love your birthday. I love celebrating my birthday. It is so exciting. August 5th. Write it down. That's Miss Hickman's birthday. Don't forget it. So maybe it's your birthday. That was the most exciting day of your life. There's been lots and lots of exciting days. But Mary was about to experience the most exciting day of her life. She was finally getting to go to the country of Calabar to be a missionary. She had dreamed about being a missionary, and finally her dreams were coming true. So sure enough, Mary jumped on a boat and she was headed down to Calabar. Now, she didn't fly like we fly in our days. Back in her day, there was no airplanes to fly on. So she jumped on a boat and she was headed to Calabar. Now, when she left Scotland, the sky was kind of gray. But as she got closer to Africa, the sky began to get more blue, and the air started to get warmer and more tropical, and she got so excited, and she noticed that there were some animals that she had never seen before. There was different animals in Africa, different than she'd ever seen in Scotland. Can you think of some animals that you think may have been different in Africa than in Scotland? Mary saw for the first time a hippopotamus. She had never seen a hippo before, and she looked out the boat one day, and there was a hippopotamus floating down the river. She had never seen that before. And she saw these beautiful parrots flying in the air, these beautiful, beautiful birds. She had never seen those in Scotland before, so it was such an exciting time for Mary. She had finally arrived in the country that she had dreamed about going to. And she was enjoying all the different animals, and it was so warm, and the sky was so blue, and after many, many days and weeks, she arrived in Africa. And she arrived in this place called Duke Town. Can you say that? Duke Town. You got it. That was her first place she landed in Africa. And Duketown was a good place for all missionaries that were going to be missionaries to Africa to land in the country, and that was a good place for them to learn the language, and they learned how people lived, and they learned how people dressed. So all of those things had to change for Mary. She had to change the way that she dressed. She had on these nice warm clothes, but now it was hot there, so she had to get nice and cool clothes. She had this long, beautiful red hair, but it was so hot, so she cut off her hair so her hair would be easy to fix throughout the day. And oh, I see that the crocodiles were some animals too. Yes, there was lots of crocodiles. Let me see your teeth like big crocodiles. That was very good, Powers family. Yes, they had big teeth, the crocodiles did. So there was many things that were different. And also the language was different. Now, in this country of Africa, in the Calabar part of Africa, they speak the language Efik. Can you say that? The Efik language. Yes, the Efik language. Now, Miss Hickman just looked up one quick phrase, how to say hello in the Efik language. Are you ready? We're going to try it together. Are you ready? It goes like this. Mokum ikam do. Do you want to try that together? Are you ready? Mokum ekum do. Good job! That's how you say hello in this epic language. So, Mary was very busy trying to learn this language, and she was trying to watch how people lived, and she was trying to learn the culture and tasting all this new food. Can you imagine the kind of food they eat in Africa? That sounds pretty exciting. So she was very busy. Now, in this city of Duketown, there was lots of Christians and lots of missionaries. So there was lots of people there that had heard the gospel. Remind me again, what is the gospel? It is the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. You are exactly right. So lots of people in Duketown had heard the gospel. But every once in a while, they would take these missionary journeys, and she would get to go into the inside of the jungle and tell people about Jesus that had never heard about Jesus. Can you believe that? She got to tell somebody about Jesus Christ for the very first time. And she tells us this one time she was in a jungle with this other missionary man, and he looked at Mary and said, Mary, would you like to tell the people anything? And she said, why, yes, I would. I would like to tell them about John chapter 5. There was a man who was very sick, and Jesus healed this man. And Mary said, just like this man had a problem, you all have a problem. You have the problem of sin. And Jesus can heal you from your sin. Now, these people had never heard of this word called sin. And I need us to remind these people, what is sin? What is sin? I want you to think about it for a second. And if you think you know, tell somebody who's sitting next to you, what is sin? Well, we know that sin is anything that we think, say, or do that breaks God's law. And God's law is the Bible. So Miss Mary was telling these people in Africa that their hearts were full of sin and they had this terrible disease, and the only person that could clear them of this disease was Jesus Christ. Just like in John chapter 5, this man was very sick, and he had been sick for a long time, and nobody could help him, no doctors could help him, but when Jesus came to town, Jesus helped him. But she told these people, you have sin in your heart, and the only way that you can get sin removed from your heart is by trusting in Jesus Christ. He died on the cross for you. And again, she got to tell them the gospel. She told them that Jesus died on the cross for your sin, and he was buried, but he didn't stay buried. After 3 days, he rose again. And Mary gave them the gospel and told them of their problem of sin. And did you know that the people in Africa have the same problem that you have? The same problem in America, the same problem in China, the same problem in Scotland. Everybody has the same problem. And it is this problem of sin. Anything that we think, say, or do that breaks God's law. And because we have sin in our life, we cannot enter this place called heaven, a perfect place that Jesus has prepared for us. And if we would like to go there, we need to pray and ask Jesus Christ into our heart to forgive us of our sins. And we have to trust that he died on the cross, and that he buried and he was risen again. That's what Mary was telling these precious people in Africa. So she continued doing that, and she was very busy. She would go back to Duketown, and she would meet with the ladies, and the ladies would teach her how to cook and how to clean and different things to do. And Miss Mary became very busy taking little jungle trips and working with the ladies. And one day, she got a very important job. She woke up one morning, and she walked out, and there was a baby sitting on her front porch, a newborn baby, and the baby was crying, and she looked around to see who had dropped off this baby at her doorstep, but nobody was around. And she said, hello, does anybody know where this baby came from? And nobody would answer her questions. So Miss Mary took in this precious little baby. Well, then the next day, she heard crying again, and she went outside, and there was a set of twins. Now let me remind you, in some parts of Africa, if there's twins, they kill them because they think they bring evil spirits. And that's not right. We know that the Bible tells us that every little life is precious to Jesus. But did you know that they were getting rid of these little twins? So Mary took the twins in. It was a little boy and a little girl. The little boy passed away. He did not live, but the little girl lived with her. And later on, Mary adopted her and she became her very own daughter. Her name was Janie. Remember that for next week. Janie. So Miss Mary took in little boys and girls that their parents did not want them, and she became very busy. She also traveled from jungle to jungle and little villages to villages to help the sick people. And her little nickname in town became Ma. Everybody called her Ma because she kind of took care of everybody like a mother. And she had all these children that she had taken into her home, and she had adopted some like Janie. And she would go from village to village taking care of the sick. And they would have problems. They would say, "Run, Ma, run! We have a problem." If there was a big argument, they called for Ma. If somebody was sick, they called for Ma. So Mary was very busy in these days. But her most important job was sharing the gospel and telling people about their problem. Remind me, what was their problem? They had the problem of sin. You're exactly right. And sin is anything that we think, say, or do that breaks God's law. So, Miss Mary was very busy taking care of the sick. Now, I'm going to give you a sneak peek of next week's story. There was a big problem that comes to Africa. Now, next week, you'll have to tune into Sunday school to figure out what is going on in this picture. I've had such a wonderful time with you today. I hope you have enjoyed your story. I want you to remember for next week, there's a couple things. Remember what the gospel is. Remember what sin is. And let's see if we can answer these questions next week. All right? I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.